Good afternoon, Nova Nation. It's WXVU Sports Director David Szczepanski, and it is time for your Villanova football preview of the week. Let's go back to the whiteboard here, go back to class for what could be the final battle of the blue between your Villanova Wildcats and the Delaware Blue Hens tomorrow, Saturday at 1 p.m. at Villanova Stadium. The Wildcats have won 14 consecutive games at Villanova Stadium dating back to 2022. And this game is going to be a lot of fun for both of these teams. First of all, it's Delaware's last FBS game ever. And Villanova, it's basically a must-win playoff game for the Wildcats as they need the win against Delaware to get into the FCS playoffs. For Villanova, they're coming off of a tough 40-33 loss to Monmouth. Villanova trying to get their 9th win of the season. They come into this game 8-3 overall. Like I said, coming into this game 5-2 in CAA play. As for the Wildcats, Connor Watkins looked really good last week against Monmouth, had 3 total touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown to Devin Smith, and 2 rushing touchdowns. He seems to be back. Talked to Ryan Fannin earlier this week on Wednesday at Villanova Sports Talk, and he declared that Connor Watkins is back. And I have to agree with him. I think he's looked much better for Villanova. The rushing attack did a pretty nice job against Monmouth with David Abbott, but still we would like to see more out of the rushing attack. And that leads me to Delaware. I mean, Delaware's defense is one of the best in the conference, giving up about 19 points per game. They only allow 101 rushing yards to their opponents on average per game. So David Abbott, Isaiah Ragland, and company will have to be ready to go against this strong Blue Hens rushing attack defense. And then as you look at the offense for the Blue Hens, Nick Minicucci, who's technically their third-string quarterback with 8 passing touchdowns, he's going to start, and he is the Offensive Player of the Week in the CAA after Delaware's win against Campbell this past Saturday. And Zach Marker as well as O'Connor, their 2 top quarterbacks for Delaware, are both dealing with some injury issues as they have been over the past couple weeks. So Minicucci seems to be the starting quarterback for the Blue Hens. In terms of the rushing attack for Delaware, it all goes through Marcus Yarns, who I feel like I said on Villanova Sports Talk, I feel like he's been playing forever. I mean, been talking about him for a long time. Yarns is also getting some NFL attention is what it seems like. He's averaging he's not averaging. He has about 700 total rushing yards this year with 5 total rushing touchdowns for Delaware. So he's been good. And the top receiver for Delaware is Phil Lutz, who has 11 touchdowns this season for Delaware. He's averaging almost 20 yards per catch. And the interesting thing about Lutz is that he actually played D3 football in 2022 at Tufts University. So now he's coming over to Delaware. He didn't play a whole lot last year, but he did have some catches. He looked pretty good in limited action. But this year he's really stepped up to be their top wide receiver in Phil Lutz for this Delaware Blue Hens team. Something else about Delaware, I mean, they've just played really well. They don't have a whole tough schedule, right? They are 9-1 overall this season. They're going to play one less game than the other teams did this year in the CAA, at least than what Villanova did. Their only loss came to Richmond. Richmond has now won the CAA conference in Delaware. They're coming off of, like I said, a nice win against Campbell. They're transferring over to the FBS, so their last FCS game ever will be tomorrow at Villanova Stadium in what could be the final battle of the blue between these 2 historic rivals. Villanova has won a lot of the matchups. 17 of the last 19 have gone in favor of your Villanova Wildcats, and hopefully they can make it 15 consecutive games winning at home at Villanova Stadium with a win over Delaware. Like I said, they need it to get into the FCS playoffs. You don't want to leave it in the hands of the selection committee, which will be on Sunday afternoon. Wildcats will just like to win and do so in easy fashion. I'll have my keys to the game later. It's going to be a very windy and cold day at Villanova Stadium tomorrow, and should be a good one, Nova Nation. So as always, stay tuned for much more action, and go Cats!